In a grand hall, Crown Prince Willard Arklayson points an accusatory finger at his fiancée, Remilia Rose Graupner, and with a face twisted in anger, he loudly declares the annulment of their engagement. Tears well up in Remilia's eyes as the prince proclaims that she persecuted the Star Maiden and refuses to atone for her crimes, making her unfit to be the future queen. Remilia's spirit breaks as she sees everyone she trusted standing against her, including Prince Willard, her stepbrother Claude, and her childhood friends David and Stefan, and she realizes her efforts were all in vain. As this despair washes over her, she feels her consciousness slip away into darkness. Suddenly, Remilia's eyes snap open, revealing intricate, clock-like patterns in her pupils as a new consciousness takes control of her body. This new presence feels the immense weight of the past 11 years of Remilia's life pressing down on her while Prince Willard, his companions, and the Star Maiden look on with expressions of shock and confusion. The prince asks if she has anything to say in her defense, while the Star Maiden beside him tries to conceal her own unpleasant expression. With newfound confidence, the woman now inhabiting Remilia's body stands tall and composed. She declares that it is beneath her to admit to a crime she did not commit, as she must uphold the noble reputation that the previous soul, Emmy, had worked so hard to establish for the Duke's daughter. She fixes a cold, unwavering gaze upon the 5 people who betrayed her: the prince, the Star Maiden, Claude, David, and Stefan. A dark aura surrounds her as she vows that she will not forgive any of them for what they have done. The story then flashes back to a time when a young Remilia was suffering from a high fever, weakly calling for water from her bed. She musters her strength to get out of her large bed, looking for more water and a change of clothes, but her small, weak body gives out, and she collapses onto the floor before losing consciousness. As Remilia's consciousness fades, another soul awakens within her young body, finding herself in a vast, dark, and empty space, completely disoriented. She sees a reflection of her new, childlike form and questions what has happened to her. The newly awakened soul, a girl from another world, realizes with horror that she is not in a hospital. She looks at her small, childlike hands and blonde hair, understanding that she has been reborn into a new body. She then sees her own body being tended to by someone else, and she desperately screams for the other soul to return it, but her voice goes unheard. In her despair, she cries out for her family from her past life. The soul occupying Remilia's body, Emmy, tearfully apologizes for dying. This apology shocks the original Remilia, who then watches as her own spectral form begins to dissolve into particles of light. As the original Remilia's soul fades, all of Emmy's memories, consciousness, and emotions flood into her. She sees visions of Emmy's past life, including heartbreaking images of her loving family grieving by her hospital bed. The original Remilia awakens back in her own young body, feeling confused about the strange experience and wondering if the girl named Emmy is okay. She remembers Emmy's desperate plea for her body back, a plea driven by a deep desire to return to her own life and family. Remilia reflects on Emmy, a girl who wept more for her family's sorrow than for her own death. While she briefly curses the divine or demonic entity that caused such a mistake, her heart softens, and she finds it easy to forgive the kind-hearted Emmy. This experience makes Remilia recall her own cold and lonely childhood. She remembers her parents, the Duke and Duchess, treating her not as a daughter but as a political tool. At a lavish masquerade ball, they callously ordered someone to deal with her as if she were a mere inconvenience. Having never been shown affection, Remilia didn't know how to love or be loved. In stark contrast, Remilia witnessed the warmth of Emmy's life through her memories. She saw Emmy sharing treats with her sister, going fishing with her father and brother, studying cheerfully with her mother, and watching her parents enjoy a quiet moment together, all scenes filled with love and consideration. She experienced the vibrant memory of Emmy's family having a delightful picnic under a blooming cherry blossom tree. The sheer happiness of these memories overwhelms Remilia, and she breaks down in tears, apologizing to Emmy for the sorrow she had to endure by dying and leaving such a loving family behind. Lying in her bed, Remilia continues to weep, deeply moved by the love and sorrow she felt from Emmy's memories. She couldn't help but feel that Emmy was a truly lovely person, and the weight of her emotions was tangible. After a few days, as Emmy's memories and emotions fully integrated with her own, Remilia discovered she could freely browse through them. She learned about Emmy, a university student from a place called Japan, and explored her knowledge of different cultures and stories. One day, while they were both adapting to their shared existence, a shocking realization struck them. Looking at her reflection in a mirror, Emmy, from within Remilia's consciousness, recognized the familiar face. A wave of panic washed over her as she screamed in terror, realizing she had been transmigrated into the body of Remilia Rose Graupner, the villainess from a novel she knew. Through Emmy's memories, Remilia learned that her own world was the setting of that novel. She recalled the day at a royal tea party when she was formally engaged to Prince Willard. For Emmy, who knew the story's tragic plot, this moment was filled with inner turmoil. Emmy, now acting as Remilia, used her knowledge to inquire about noble families, which unexpectedly earned her mother's approval. The novel Emmy knew painted a tragic picture of Remilia. She was a girl blessed with immense magical abilities but was treated as a political pawn by her parents and failed to earn her fiancé's love. The prince, tired of their arranged engagement that felt like selective breeding, was fated to fall for a star maiden, which would ultimately lead to Remilia's tragic downfall. In the novel's plot, the star maiden would arrive at the academy, befriend a group of handsome young men, and embark on a grand journey to save the world, leveling up her stats along the way. Remilia, on the other hand, was cast as the antagonist, a mad dog consumed by obsession who would curse the world for her broken heart and ultimately be destroyed. Overcome with pity for the lonely villainess, Emmy became Remilia's most ardent supporter. She cried for her, wishing desperately for a route where Remilia could find a happy ending, wanting to give her good food and a warm bed. This pure, unconditional love from Emmy began to heal the real Remilia's wounded heart, and because of it, her own strained relationship with her parents no longer seemed to matter. Remilia's mind filled with memories of Emmy's family, who welcomed her as one of their own. She saw herself holding hands with Emmy's sister, playing together, being cared for, having her hair braided, and sharing delicious meals around their family table. These shared memories felt incredibly real, showing them eating together, bathing together, and reading stories side by side. Emmy even wished that Remilia could have been born as her sister, vowing that she would never have let her feel so sad. This heartfelt wish resonated deeply within Remilia, touching her profoundly. Fueled by this powerful bond, Emmy dedicated herself to rewriting Remilia's tragic destiny. She frantically scribbled down plans and strategies, determined to make Remilia the happiest girl in the world. The image of the lonely, world-cursing villainess would not exist in the new reality she was creating. The real Remilia felt this powerful love and embraced the warm image of Emmy in her mind. Surrounded by a sea of handwritten notes, Emmy, now living as Remilia, fully committed to her new goal. She was resolved to make the happiness of the villainess, Remilia, a reality. Now acting as Remilia, Emmy decided that to prevent any potential disasters, she needed to become stronger, whether the foretold star maiden appeared or not. As she pondered how to use the game-like training items from the story, a large pile of magical crystals, herbs, and other rare ingredients suddenly materialized before her. Emmy immediately began to experiment, grinding the magical substances into a fine powder with a stone mill, hoping to unlock their true potential. For months, she conducted countless experiments, spending a fortune on materials until she finally created a successful, albeit unusual, concoction, much to the original Remilia's astonishment. As a last, desperate measure, Emmy drank the foul-tasting but incredibly potent mixture. The effect was immediate. She felt the magical pathways in her body expand, greatly increasing her power and capacity. To recover her stamina, she began hunting monsters and consuming the mana shards found within them, a process that left the original Remilia in awe of her friend's sheer determination. In this world, mana shards could be crushed to restore magic and stamina, a simple recovery method. However, in the game Emmy knew, these shards were used for gacha pulls to obtain new characters and items, making their use for training an act of heresy. But as the Duke's daughter, Emmy had access to unlimited funds and used them to fuel her intense training regimen. The scene shifts to a dark forest where a lord and his guards are ambushed by bandits. The situation is dire, and the lord is about to be struck down from behind by a ruthless attacker. Just as the bandit's weapon is about to land, a powerful blast of magic erupts, neutralizing the threat in an instant. Emmy appears from the shadows, stepping forward to check on the lord, who is revealed to be Claude's father. He looks up in shock, saved by an unlikely hero. Having grown into a magical genius, Emmy had successfully intervened and prevented the original story's tragic event where Claude's father was killed. The Viscount looks at her in disbelief, recognizing her as Remilia. As Emmy expresses her relief at being able to save him, the real Remilia smiles, knowing that Emmy was successfully changing their fate. Despite Emmy's heroic intervention, the driving force of the original plot proved relentless. Claude's father later succumbed to a widespread epidemic, a fate that Emmy couldn't prevent. Consequently, the newly orphaned Claude was adopted into Remilia's family, becoming her stepbrother, just as the story foretold. In the original story, Claude grew up believing his father resented him for his mother's death in childbirth. This misunderstanding was meant to be cleared up by the Star Maiden, who would find a letter from his father. However, because Emmy's actions allowed his father to live longer, the two were able to reconcile and fix their strained relationship before his passing. Even though his father wasn't killed by bandits, Claude was still heartbroken by his death. After being adopted, Emmy showered him with sisterly love and affection, helping him heal. He blossomed from a haggard boy into a naive and innocent young man whom she cherished as precious family, and he, in turn, developed faint feelings for her. Emmy also extended her help to David, who suffered from an inferiority complex compared to his older brother, a sword prodigy. While the game's Star Maiden was the only one to acknowledge his skills, Emmy encouraged him directly, telling him he possessed a unique fighting style only he could master. Inspired by Emmy's intense training with mana shards, David ventured into the forest alone to become stronger. However, David had only ever fought in one-on-one duels and was quickly overwhelmed by a group of monsters. On the verge of death, he was saved at the last moment by Emmy, who arrived just in time. Defeated and ashamed, he asked if she had come only to laugh at his failure. Instead of laughing, Emmy gave him a firm smack on the back and burst into tears, calling him an idiot for his recklessness. She emotionally explained that when a friend is doing something dangerous, it's only natural to rush in and stop them. David was stunned into silence by her heartfelt words. Walking through the forest together, Emmy asked David why he was so desperate to get stronger. He confessed that he had a dream to stand by Prince Willard's side. Emmy then realized his true motivation. He wanted to be strong enough to support Remilia, the future queen, for her sake. Emmy's kindness also touched Stefan, who dreamed of being a musician rather than inheriting his father's position as the royal mage. Emmy encouraged him to pursue his passion and speak with his father. Later, Stefan was captivated by a beautiful song Emmy sang from her previous life. Believing she composed the masterpiece, he felt his own talent was inadequate and nearly gave up, but Emmy desperately pleaded with him not to. Emmy passionately told Stefan he must continue making music, explaining that his violin playing filled her heart with warmth and emotion. She also cleared up the misunderstanding about the song, claiming she heard it in a dream. Touched by her words, Stefan mused that her beautiful heart must be why her singing voice sounded like a fairy's. Emmy's nature was to help anyone in need, and as she saved person after person, her own talents and abilities blossomed, shaping her into the ideal Lady Remilia. However, this created an unforeseen problem. Her fiancé, Prince Willard, grew jealous of her rapidly growing power and influence, a complication that never existed in the original game. In a moment of vulnerability, Willard confessed his jealousy to Emmy. He was ashamed to admit that her talent and ability to solve every problem frustrated him, especially since she was working so hard to stand by his side. As she cried in distress, never intending to cause him pain, Willard saw his overachieving childhood friend as a woman for the first time. Realizing that all her efforts were for his sake, Willard gently touched her hair and smiled. He admitted that while she was a bit wild, his own hard-headed nature made them a perfect match, and it worked out well that they were partners. His gentle words and warm smile made Emmy blush, her heart fluttering. The real Remilia, watching all of this unfold, felt a profound sense of happiness. Emmy's desire to see the fictional Villainess find joy was all the real Remilia needed to feel happy herself. For the real Remilia, simply witnessing Emmy live a happy life brought more joy than anything else. She hoped from the bottom of her heart that this happiness would continue forever and that Emmy and Willard would find their happy ending together. However, as she watched Emmy from within a portrait, she knew that this peaceful life was about to be shattered. The story returns to the present, at the academy. A new student, the prophesied Star Maiden, has just enrolled. She confidently approaches Emmy, who is in Remilia's body, with a knowing smirk. Looking her straight in the eye, she reveals that she knows Emmy's secret, saying, "You're a transmigrator too, ain't? At the academy, students gaze in admiration at the student council as they walk by, their presence making the air feel radiant and full of promise. Among the crowd, two girls excitedly recall how the gorgeous Lady Remilia had saved one of them just the day before. The girls continue their conversation, with one recounting how Remilia, despite being a commoner's daughter who entered the school on her own merit, rescued her from bullying nobles with a clever excuse. They marvel at her pure soul, which shines brightly alongside her exceptional intelligence and magic. Other students nearby join in the praise, listing Remilia's incredible accomplishments beyond the campus, such as developing new medicines, creating public hygiene supplies, inventing flameless cooking tools, and even establishing a free lunch policy in her family's territory so that poor children could attend school. Because of her many compassionate deeds, Remilia had become known as the perfect lady. One day, her friends approached her with news that a very unusual new student had enrolled, a fact that seemed to echo the fairy tales they all knew. The new student, standing confidently with a teacher, was none other than the legendary Star Maiden, a figure said to appear and save the world when it is in peril. A new chapter begins, titled, The Star Maiden and Ugly Lies, set against the backdrop of the Grand Academy building. In the classroom, the new student introduces herself as Pina Blanche, the Star Maiden. The teacher explains that according to new government policies, girls with awakened abilities are now enrolled in the school. The students, including the student council members Willard, David, and Stefan, are captivated by her presence, wondering about her rumored ability to enhance others' powers through prayer alone. Pina, for her part, simply hopes to get along with everyone despite her commoner background. Later, the student council discusses the new arrival. Willard finds it hard to believe the Star Maiden is real, while David notes that the world doesn't seem to be in immediate danger. They decide to keep an eye on her as she adjusts to the school. Meanwhile, Emmy's heart pounds with the realization that the original story is finally about to unfold. Pina suddenly bursts into the student council room, startling Emmy with her casual observation that the room is rather plain. With a flirty smile, she reintroduces herself as Pina, the Star Maiden, her demeanor immediately putting Emmy on edge. Without warning, Pina leaps into Prince Willard's arms, clinging to him affectionately and exclaiming how amazing it is that he truly exists. The entire student council is stunned into silence by her shockingly bold behavior, while Emmy looks on in complete disbelief. Willard sternly rebukes Pina, telling her that hugging an engaged man upon their first meeting reflects poorly on her character. Claude, David, and Stefan quickly step in to support him, reminding Pina that as a supposed fan, she should know he is engaged to their sister, Remilia. As her friends rush to her side to check on her, Pina looks surprised by their united front. Pina quickly apologizes for her forwardness and leaves the room, slamming the door behind her. Later, as Emmy walks down a hallway, she is confronted again by the Star Maiden. Emmy recalls that since the heroine is player-controlled in the game, her true personality might be different than expected. Pina drops all pretense and directly accuses Emmy of also being a transmigrate. When Emmy feigns confusion, Pina angrily points out all the discrepancies from the original game, such as her good relationships with Claude, David, and Stefan, and her closeness with Prince Willard, things the villainous Remilia never had. Her face contorted with fury, Pina accuses Emmy of using her foreknowledge of the game to manipulate the male characters since childhood, calling her methods vulgar and disgusting. She screams at Emmy, questioning if her goal was to create a reverse harem where everyone loves the villainess. Pina furiously declares that Emmy is nothing more than an anti-fan destroying the original story, which she claims as her own, before storming off and leaving a stunned Emmy in her wake. Alone and heartbroken, Emmy reflects that she never meant to ruin the story and now understands that Pina is also from her world. She recalls her past conversations where she always attributed her successes to her past life's knowledge, not her own genius, and remembers Willard's gentle words about them being a good match. Emmy accepts that in the original game, Willard was a love interest for the heroine, and that might be the true path for the story. However, she believes that preventing the deaths and suffering of the original plot is a far better outcome, even if it changes things. Hoping to find common ground, Emmy decides to seek out Pina for a proper talk. She believes that as fellow fans who know the tragic future, they could work together. However, her attempts are thwarted as she finds Pina constantly clinging to Willard and the others, making it impossible to speak with her privately. The situation quickly deteriorates as Pina begins to reenact events from the game, but with a malicious twist. She interrupts Stefan's violin practice with shallow, incorrect praise, annoying him rather than charming him. She approaches Claude in the library with irrelevant questions, leading him to ignore her. She barges in on David's training with overly familiar behavior, which he later describes to Emmy as simply strange. With Prince Willard, Pina repeatedly fakes falling down in front of him, forcing him to help her up each time. Remilia, observing from within, notes that Pina has completely failed to replicate the game's scenarios, where the Star Maiden's genuine actions earned her affection. Without the proper setup, the story was not unfolding as it should. Despite Pina's clumsy attempts, things slowly began to go wrong. After one of her falls, Willard's attitude towards her suddenly softens, and Emi suspects that the original story's coercive power or an item is at play. The effect isn't strong, but Pina's triumphant, unsettling grin reveals her true intentions. Soon, Willard and the other boys are seen being friendly with Pina, their attitudes completely changed. The student body, once wary, is now charmed by her supposed cuteness and naivety, seeing her as someone to be protected. By the time Emi realizes the extent of Pina's influence, it is already too late. More than half the academy is under her sway, and even those who weren't involved refuse to take Emi's side. Vicious rumors about Emi begin to spread like wildfire. Students whisper that she is bullying the Star Maiden, forcing her maid to eat bugs, and burning her clothes. The real Remilia, watching helplessly from the void, screams for Emi to fight back and refute the ugly gossip, but her warnings go unheard. Emi is devastated as she loses the trust of everyone around her, including the boys she had worked so hard to save. Willard dismisses her pain, telling her to be kinder to Pina. He confronts her, demanding to know why she made Pina cry, and despite Emi's desperate pleas of innocence, her words are twisted into a false truth. The boys she once considered friends completely betray her trust, siding with a tearful Pina and telling her she has nothing to apologize for. It is then revealed that one of Emi's own friends acted as a traitor, feeding Pina information and providing her with personal items to use as proof for her lies. This setup, portraying Emi as a cruel bully and Pina as a noble victim, becomes the accepted truth within the academy. The final act of Pina's plan unfolds on a staircase. As Emi passes, Pina intentionally throws herself down the stairs, a malicious and triumphant grin on her face as she falls. Willard and the others witness the scene, shocked by what they see. Emi reaches out in horror, but it is too late. Willard sees her standing over the fallen Pina, and the crowd immediately erupts, accusing her of attempted murder. As Willard lifts a weeping Pina into his arms, he looks at Emi with profound disappointment, ignoring her desperate cries that she was only trying to save her. Pina, safe in his embrace, smirks victoriously. A few days later, at a royal ball, the story reaches its climax. Emi is convicted of attempted murder, an absurd charge for a mere bruise and sprain. All her pleas of innocence are dismissed as a lack of remorse, and Willard publicly annuls their engagement, leaving Emi in a state of complete and utter despair. At that moment of deepest despair, the original Remilia's consciousness awakens. Her eyes snap open, the clock-like patterns within them spinning as she takes control. Feeling the weight of the past 11 years, she faces her accusers with a newfound coldness. She swears on her name that it is beyond her to lie and admit to a crime she did not commit, shocking Willard and Pina with her sudden transformation. Remilia can still feel Emi's spirit, now dormant in a deep slumber, and the loneliness is indescribable. She knows Emi is innocent, and she vows to take back the happiness Willard had stolen. She coolly challenges the prince, questioning his authority and pointing out that all the evidence against her was fabricated. Despite his offer of forgiveness if she repents, she calmly repeats her innocence, leaving him speechless. Furious, Willard has her removed from the hall. She is brought before the king and her father, who reveal the ball was an ultimatum for her to apologize. Remilia accepts her punishment of being confined to the countryside but cleverly requests that royal agents monitor both her and the Star Maiden. She then gracefully accepts her fate, leaving the king and her father to deal with the political fallout of her unexpected defiance. As she walks away, her value as a political pawn destroyed, Remilia clenches her fist. She knows she must bide her time to enact her revenge on everyone who hurt Emi, especially Pina. Standing on a balcony under the moonlight, she makes a chilling vow. She will drag the fake heroine into a living hell and will never forgive her for what she did, even if she atones with her death. Back at her home, her father disowns her. In a brilliant strategic move, Remilia requests full sovereign authority over the worthless countryside estate in exchange for the rights to all the profitable products Emi had developed. The Duke, seeing only the monetary value, agrees. With the foundation for her revenge now laid, Remilia embraces her new path. She will restore honor to the name of the Villainess, claim her happiness, and make her enemies pay. Summoning a swarm of spiders, she commands them to be her eyes and ears, sending them out to gather information as she begins her intricate plan for retribution. In her remote countryside estate, Remilia begins her counterattack by creating a powerful mana stone, crushing it in her hand to fuel her magic. With a determined look, she inspects a large, perfectly cut mana stone, considering the pile of smaller gems she has produced to be an adequate supply for her plans. Using her spiders as spies, Remilia weaves a vast information network. The magical webs spread throughout the school, the royal capital's back alleys, and even her own garden, monitoring her enemies and the 2 royal guards assigned to watch her. Through her network, she quickly locates her first target. With a triumphant smile, she teleports away, leaving the guards to unwittingly provide her with a perfect alibi, unaware of her advanced magical abilities. Remilia appears in a dark alley, her confidence growing. She acknowledges that her opponents are not incompetent, but she is the Villainess, the game's official cheat, blessed with maxed-out skills designed to be a threat to the main characters. Now fully in control of her body and its power, Remilia vows to create a world where the gentle Emmy can feel safe enough to return, a task that only the Remilia who has known love can accomplish. This is her own brand of justice, a hammer struck down by the very evil she was accused of being. Her first act at the estate is to dismiss the entire staff. She provides them with generous severance pay and letters of recommendation, explaining that she doesn't want them to be caught up in the misfortune brought upon her by the false accusations. The servants leave in tears, touched by her unexpected kindness. As they depart, the 2 royal guards assigned to watch Remilia observe the scene, questioning the vicious rumors they had heard about her. Once the staff is gone, Remilia erects a powerful magical barrier around the entire estate. She smirks, knowing the servants will spread tales of her kindness, a simple and effective way to begin countering Pina's narrative. Alone in her new home, Remilia realizes she cannot trust humans who could easily be turned into Pina's pawns. Just as she plots to spread the truth to more remote areas, her stomach rumbles loudly, reminding her that she needs to eat, something she had forgotten since Emmy's nourishment no longer sustained her. Drawing from Emmy's memories, Remilia cooks herself a hearty meal of pancakes topped with bacon and eggs, a favorite from Emmy's world. She savors the food, resolving to take care of herself with the same love that Emmy had shown her, starting by enjoying all of Emmy's favorite dishes. Walking through the now empty and quiet halls of her large house, Remilia feels a profound sense of calm. For the first time, she is at peace, knowing that in this house, it is just her and Emmy. Drawing strength from Emmy's memories and her hard work, Remilia prepares to leave her estate. She clutches a handful of mana stones, grateful for Emmy's efforts that allow her to produce them, and renews her vow to create a safe world for her friend to return to. Her journey takes her to a mysterious, high-end shop filled with magical items, a place that seems to be taken straight from the game's world. There, she finds the very items Pina used, the charm perfume and the love potion. The shopkeeper explains how these premium items can force affection and are difficult to resist, confirming Remilia's suspicions about how Pina so easily manipulated everyone at the academy, even overcoming Emmy's warnings to the boys. A flashback shows the cruel, pleased smiles on the faces of Willard and his friends as Emmy suffered, solidifying Remilia's resolve. She realizes this shop is her first target, and her goal is to tear it apart. The shopkeeper tries to sell her the items, but Remilia calmly refuses, stating that she is not there for goods. With a knowing smile, she reaches out and says her target is him. In a swift motion, she removes the shopkeeper's disguise, revealing his demonic, pointed ears. She introduces herself as Remilia Rose Graupner, the exiled lord of the nearby territory, and addresses him as the demon shopkeeper. The demon shopkeeper recognizes her from the rumors but is intrigued when she offers a mutually beneficial deal. He scoffs at the idea that she might want to exterminate the hidden demons for a reward, but Remilia clarifies her intentions are for all demon folk. With a brilliant smile, Remilia makes her shocking proposal. She wants all the demons hiding in the country to move to her territory and establish their own village, leaving the shopkeeper utterly stunned. When he questions her motives, Remilia explains her goal is to create a prosperous village to spite those who exiled her. To do that, she needs settlers, and she points out the hypocrisy of a world that betrayed her while claiming humans are trustworthy. She proposes that as two peoples driven from their homes by humans, they should work together. To prove her sincerity, Remilia offers a bag of gold and a pouch filled with exceptionally high-quality mana stones. The demon is floored by the incredible value and craftsmanship of the gems. Remilia casually mentions she created the stones in under an hour and offers her entire life savings as collateral, further stunning the shopkeeper. He calls her mad for attempting such a feat, but she confidently replies that she must be this capable to earn his trust. Her audacity makes him laugh. She then reveals her knowledge of the demon's plight, their struggle to survive in a barren realm by secretly selling goods in human territory, and offers them a chance to live with dignity in her village. The shopkeeper asks for time to consult his people, and Remilia agrees, subtly threatening to take her incredible offer to other demon run shops if he hesitates. As she departs, he marvels at her sharpness. He knows demons are immune to Pina's charm items, making them perfect pawns for Remilia, who would, in turn, create a safe haven for them, just as Emmy would have. Remilia smirks, her plan set in motion. She has no intention of capturing the demons. Instead, she will care for them so completely that they will come to worship her. With a satisfied smile, she walks away, one step closer to her ultimate revenge. A few days later, Remilia meets with the demon shopkeeper again, who confirms that the homeless demons have agreed to settle in her territory. In return for the good news, he provides her with some valuable information. Pina's flashy use of the premium items is starting to draw suspicion from the nobles. Remilia reveals she has been pulling strings from the shadows to draw their attention, which explains why the shopkeeper has had to stop selling his most popular items. Remilia then makes him an offer he can't refuse. She will fund his move to the town next to her village, where he can set up a new shop under her protection before a formal investigation begins. With this move, she successfully cuts off Pina's access to the powerful premium items. Her primary objective complete, she tells the shopkeeper she has one more favor to ask. In a peaceful meadow, the two royal intelligence agents assigned to monitor Remilia watch her from a distance. A new chapter in their mission begins. Several days into their surveillance, the two agents, Agent A and Agent B, track Remilia to a nearby town. Agent B scoffs at her seemingly easy life, while Agent A speculates that she's out shopping after dismissing her helper. They remind each other that their duty is only to report the facts, but they are both shocked by what they witness next. At the Adventurers Guild, Remilia completes her registration, receiving her guild tag with a polite thank you. The agents watch in disbelief as the former future queen registers as a common adventurer, likely to earn a living. While Agent A sees it as a just punishment, Agent B thinks she's naive and will soon be crying for help. Remilia then surprises them again by immediately cashing in a large amount of resources. She calmly presents a hoard of rare monster parts, including cockatrice feathers, crimson bear liver glands, and tarantula bee stingers, items so valuable that the guild staff is flustered. The agents are stunned, wondering where she obtained such a collection and what she plans to do with the enormous sum of money. As Remilia waits, she is greeted by the demon shopkeeper. He reveals he was waiting for her, having predicted she would register as an adventurer. Remilia is slightly embarrassed that he saw through her plan, but he assures her it's simply a merchant's foresight. The shopkeeper is there on business, wanting to confirm their deal still stands now that she has surrendered the rights to her past inventions to her family. Remilia confirms that she has, and all her other merchant contacts in the capital have abandoned her. The shopkeeper sees this as their golden opportunity. He proposes a new deal. Instead of focusing on her old products, he will profit from the rare materials she gathers and any new items she develops. Remilia gratefully accepts, realizing it's the best deal she could hope for. The two agents, eavesdropping from a distance, are once again surprised by her shrewdness. The shopkeeper assumes she needs the money for a new product, but Remilia surprises him yet again by stating her true intention. She wants to run her barren, nearly uninhabited village properly. Her earnest declaration leaves the agent speechless. Remilia asks the merchant to introduce her to prospective settlers, specifically orphans and the elderly with no relatives. She wants to build a village where those with nowhere else to go can live in peace. The shopkeeper agrees to help, seeing the potential for profit. After their meeting, Remilia immediately takes on her first adventurer quest, leaving the agents to grumble about her supposed attempt to score brownie points. Her quest is to subdue monsters in a nearby cleared dungeon. The agents follow, with Agent B cynically predicting she'll fail and need to be rescued. However, Remilia proves him wrong, effortlessly clearing the dungeon and leaving them to wonder if she even broke a sweat. Inside the dungeon, Remilia easily defeats the remaining monsters. She knows that by making the area safe, it won't seem strange when new settlers begin to appear. She then proceeds to the deepest part of the dungeon, a hidden, bonus stage from the game. By pouring her magic into a mural of a goddess, she unlocks a secret door. Behind the door, she finds a hidden treasure, a powerful ring that increases all of her ability scores. She realizes that by obtaining this item before Pina, she has further disrupted the original story's plot. While the boy's abilities have been boosted by Emmy's support, they are nowhere near strong enough to defeat the Demon King and save the world on their own. Remilia smiles with grim satisfaction. The world crisis from the game, which was triggered by the original Remilia summoning the Demon King out of despair, will not happen now that she is in control. This means the nobles and the Star Maiden won't have the chance to become heroes by clearing dungeons and saving the world. As she leaves the dungeon, Remilia reflects on the game's original story and how the Star Maiden was meant to save the world from a miasma-polluted land. Now, with the Villainess no longer leading the world to destruction, the game has become her personal guidebook for victory. Pina, no matter what she does next, is too late. The agents, watching her emerge from the dungeon unscathed, are bewildered when she simply walks away. Suddenly, they are ambushed by a giant, monstrous cockatrice. As the cockatrice attacks, it also threatens two local tree harvesters who were nearby. Agent A, seeing the danger, recalls Emmy's kindness and rushes to protect them, fearing what would happen if the kind Remilia he remembers saw this. Just as the monster is about to strike, Remilia appears in a flash, slicing the creature in two with a single, elegant sword stroke. She lands gracefully, sheathing her sword as she reassures the terrified villagers that they are safe. She declares that she will be the one to save the world, long before the Star Maiden ever gets the chance. Standing over the defeated monster, Remilia looks down at the shocked villagers, a gentle yet determined expression on her face. She then turns her gaze to the forest where the agents are hiding, a silent message passing between them. With a cold and final thought, she vows to rob Pina of her entire reason for existing. The grateful villagers offer Remilia their meager savings as thanks, but she politely refuses, knowing it would be more beneficial for them to remain thankful to Remilia. However, the young girl offers her some dried fruit, calling her Miss Saintess. Touched by this simple act of kindness, Remilia accepts the gift. After her heroic deed, the agents offer her a ride back in their cart. Agent B gruffly explains it's purely for logistical reasons, but Remilia, seeing through his pretense, accepts with a smirk, aware that she has won them over. The villagers' innocent praise for her kindness makes Remilia smile. She realizes that the Remilia Emmy created was indeed a kind and pure person, worthy of the title Saintess. Caught up in the moment, she finds herself in high spirits and ends up giving away too much of her earnings as charity. Remilia continues her mission, visiting a desert city plagued by a drought caused by a dragon god. She summons a magnificent water dragon, bringing rain to the parched land and pacifying the angry deity. The grateful citizens thank her profusely, but she humbly claims she was merely following a divine mission. The rumors of her kindness and power spread, countering the lies told about her. A few months pass, and Remilia successfully clears several more game events, preventing disasters and further tarnishing Pina's reputation. Having acquired the fifth and final key from the desert country's dungeon, she is ready to advance to the next stage of her plan. After 3 days away, Remilia decides to return to her village. She looks forward to seeing the progress and the people she has gathered there. A new chapter begins, titled Utopia of Genesis, as she stands confidently, a sword resting on her shoulder. The children of the village greet her with joyous cries of, "Welcome home." She smiles warmly, happy to see that they have been well. The children eagerly report their progress. They've been attending school, studying, composting, and even repairing old houses for new arrivals. They excitedly tell her the village chief is home, a secret they were supposed to keep. Remilia visits the village chief, who is revealed to be the demon shopkeeper, Thorn. He has been managing the village in her absence, taking a break from his business in the capital. He is surprised by her sudden appearance. Remilia thanks Thorn for his hard work, noting that he even used his own money to support the village when her funds ran out. He bashfully insists it was merely an investment. They both express their gratitude for the thriving community they are building. Thorn points out the healthy, happy children who were once starving in the slums. Remilia explains that she is simply doing what she feels is right, what Emmy would have done. Her actions are all part of her ultimate goal, to make Emmy's wish for Remilia's happiness a reality. Looking out at the village, Remilia sees the fruits of their labor. The once ragged children are now well-fed and clothed, and the fields are beginning to flourish. The first settlers, children aged 2 to 14 from a poor town in the capital, have found a new home. Remilia greets the new arrivals, former slum children who are wary and tense from their past experiences. She introduces herself as Remilia, the lord of the village, and assures them they are safe. She understands their fear, knowing they are demon children who fled their realm to escape a spreading miasma. In the human world, they were forced to live in poverty, their dignity stolen. She acknowledges that this world was designed for the Star Maiden's purification power, but she is determined to create a place for them. Remilia gathers the children for a meal, promising not to ask for their trust but to earn it by rewarding them for their help. She offers them a renovated, abandoned house to live in, with no obligations. One of the older children asks if they will have to do something in return. Remilia smiles and explains her request. She wants them to help her cultivate the fields, and their reward will be daily meals. The village thrives. Thorn continues to supply the growing community with necessary goods, and the children, no longer starving, begin to relax and enjoy their new lives. One night, while Remilia and Thorn are discussing business, a loud banging at the door interrupts them. The children burst in, panicking because a 2-year-old child's fever won't break, and healing magic is ineffective. Remilia realizes the cause is the difference in physiology between demons and humans, a perfect opportunity for her research. One of the older boys, Merritt, blames himself for not speaking up sooner. Merritt confesses he was afraid of being seen as useless or a burden, fears rooted in a past trauma where he was cast out for being a devil. The other children, also terrified of being abandoned, offer themselves in his place, begging Remilia to save the little one. Remilia is deeply moved by their courage. She reassures them that they were brave to rely on her and that it is her job to protect them. She takes the sick child to her house to treat him, and Thorn, who had also doubted her intentions, gives her a vial of medicine, admitting he is impressed. After Remilia successfully treats the child, she earns the complete trust of the demon children. This unexpected event allows her to study demon physiology and helps persuade other demons to join their community. With a growing population, she plans to develop special goods using their unique magic and have merchants like Thorn spread them throughout the capital, executing the ideas Emmy couldn't. As Remilia prepares to leave again, the children rush to stop her, begging her to stay. They proudly tell her they can now cook the meals she taught them. Touched by their affection, Remilia recalls Emmy's happy memories of meals shared with family. She decides to delay her departure, looking forward to a dinner shared with everyone. She enjoys a delicious meal of grilled skewers with the children, a favorite from Emmy's memories. The simple joy of eating together brings a warm smile to her face. The next day, Remilia sets out on her journey, arriving at the entrance to a massive underground city carved into a mountain. She has reached the Cavern City, the kingdom of the dwarves. She walks through the bustling international city, filled with many different races. As she marvels at the sight, she is suddenly bumped into by a small, hooded figure. She catches the falling figure, and they both apologize. As she looks into the young dwarf's flustered face, Remilia smiles, knowing she has found her next target. She introduces herself to the young dwarf, who shyly introduces herself as Sarah. A grand clock tower looms behind them as Remilia identifies her as Sarah Still, the princess of the dwarven kingdom, the in the Cavern City, the land of the dwarves and home to the god of the flame. A dwarven blacksmith toils at his forge. High above the sparkling underground city, Princess Sarah Still, or Sarah, cheerfully calls for Remilia to hurry up. Remilia smiles, enjoying her time with her new friend. They explore the vibrant city, trying new foods and admiring the unique dwarven crafts. Remilia is glad to have met a friend like Sarah, and Sarah, in turn, is happy to have met a rare swordswoman. Sarah mentions that even nobles are lining up to have an audience with her sister, the Holy Princess. She reassures Remilia that her sister, Pushyuk, will accommodate her needs. As they part ways, Sarah asks Remilia to tell her about her dungeon adventures next time. Remilia proceeds to the Grand Dwarven Palace. Her plan is to befriend Sarah to get an audience with the Holy Princess, a feat the real Star Maiden, with her bad first impressions, could never accomplish. 2 guards greet her, informing her that the Holy Princess is expecting her. Remilia smirks, confident that she doesn't need the charm perfume to win them over, acting like Emmy is enough. With her goal in sight, she prepares to beat the game's final stage. She enters the throne room, a magnificent hall with a throne of fire. The Holy Princess, Pushyuk, greets her, revealing that her sister has already told her about Remilia. Remilia knows she needs the god of the flame to work for her. Pushyuk acknowledges the rumors of Remilia's prophecy and her deeds of helping those in need. She cuts straight to the point, asking what Remilia wants. Remilia, feeling the immense power radiating from the princess, is glad for her directness. Remilia explains that she has come for a single reason, to be granted the sacred armor from the god of the flame to prevent a world-ending catastrophe. The Holy Princess is intrigued, as she has never heard such an audacious idea. She asks who Remilia plans to go after with the armor, which is known to defy God's judgment. With a chilling smile, Remilia reveals her targets, the Lord of Heavens and the Creator. The sacred armor is, after all, the power for humans to slay gods. A new chapter begins, titled The God-Slaying Villainess, with Remilia looking every bit the part. The holy princess bursts into laughter, impressed by her boldness. She asks why Remilia would go after the two strongest gods. Remilia explains that the origin of the miasma destroying their world lies with them both. She then reveals the secret history of the world, a tale of gods, mortals, and a doomed future. In the beginning, there were gods in heaven and humans, dwarves, and elves on earth. One of the first-generation gods, the Creator, discovered humans and began to intervene in their world, granting them skills and crops, while others brought natural disasters. The humans, in turn, built temples and deepened their faith. The Holy Princess is impressed by Remilia's knowledge, which was previously known only to the gods. She asks what the Creator and the Lord of Heavens have to do with the miasma. Remilia explains that when gods use their powers on earth, fatigue, called stagnation, accumulates, which is the true form of the miasma. Because of this, the gods stopped their descents and used shrine maidens and priests as intermediaries. The Creator, however, continued to exert his power to the point of no return, and his daughter, the goddess of purification, was given the role of cleansing the stagnation. The cause of this was the Lord of Heavens. The goddess of purification, Renge, rejected the Lord of Heaven's advances and was imprisoned. Consumed by heartbreak, he became a tyrant, and the number of gods began to dwindle. The Creator, bereft of purification, left the duty of cleansing to humanity, and the miasma overflowing from his body created the monsters in the dungeons. This delayed the inevitable, but the world is on a path to destruction. Remilia, having traversed the world to procure the keys to the heavens, now stands before the Holy Princess, a mortal daring to confront the divine, and beseeches her to grant her the sacred armor. The Holy Princess asks if she does not quiver in the face of defying the gods. Remilia, with a look of fierce determination, replies that the despair and terror of being a helpless bystander as peril closes in on those she holds dear is far more agonizing than slaying gods. The Holy Princess is impressed by her spirit, revealing that she bestowed the sacred armor upon humanity millennia ago. She finds it a delightful coincidence that Remilia, a woman she has come to admire, now seeks it. With a promise to craft the greatest sacred armor with all her heart and soul, the Holy Princess agrees to help. Remilia, ever prepared, presents her with all the legendary grade materials needed, leaving the princess and her attendants speechless. She swears to return the armor once the two gods have been vanquished, explaining that such a powerful object could cause strife in the future. This is what Emmy would say, and the Holy Princess agrees it is a wise decision. As a final blessing, the Holy Princess bestows upon Remilia the protection of the sacred flames, which also bear the power of purification. Remilia, her expectations exceeded, silently thanks Emmy as the goddess forges the legendary armor. Clad in the magnificent, custom-made sacred armor, Remilia stands ready for her final battle, her beauty and power leaving the dwarven attendants in awe. As she departs the cavern city, the Holy Princess wishes her well. Remilia, standing in a field of flowers, holds the 5 keys to the heavens, ready to begin her assault on the first god, her resolve unshakable. With the 5 keys from the dungeons acquired, Remilia uses their power to sing a beautiful melody, unlocking a path to the next stage of her plan. She stands before a solitary tree on a hill, ready to face her next challenge. She enters an ethereal realm, a spiraling path leading through a dark, starry void. Here, she encounters a powerful barrier designed to hinder the progress of a foolish god who suppressed others with brute force. In the game, a full team would need to gather materials to break it, but Remilia, having prepared alone, easily dispels it. Remilia reflects that while allies can expedite progress, her current strength, painstakingly raised by Emmy, renders numerical superiority unnecessary. With a grateful thought for her friend, she readies herself for the final confrontation. Flying through the heavens, she approaches a floating divine structure. Below her hovers the realm's guardian, a strange, winged god. Thanks to Emmy's efforts, Remilia is now powerful enough to defeat even a god. As she approaches, the god questions the presence of a human. Remilia greets him with a deceptively calm smile before unleashing a devastating attack, causing the god to cry out in rage as he is consumed by the blast. A new chapter begins, revealing the god's tragic story. He was once in love with a graceful goddess named Renge, who soared through the sky leaving a trail of lotus flowers. For centuries, he followed her, collecting the flowers she left behind. His love twisted into obsession, and he demanded they become one. When she refused, he transformed her into a lotus, ensuring their eternal unity. He then devised a plan to purify the corrupted world, believing that by resetting everything she would finally see his greatness and be compelled to love him. The enraged god, now a monstrous being, attacks Remilia, demanding she return the heart that is his. He screams at her not to obstruct him, but Remilia merely scoffs at his delusion. With a look of utter disdain, Remilia tells the god that the goddess rejected him simply because he is downright disgusting. Her brutal honesty shatters his composure, and he erupts in a massive explosion of dark energy. Battered but victorious, Remilia smirks, remarking that the world is now a little cleaner. As the dark energy dissipates, she finds herself in a serene, watery space where the freed goddess, Renge, appears before her in her true, beautiful mermaid-like form. Remilia explains the situation to Renge and gains her as an ally. The grateful goddess gives her a lotus flower as a catalyst to summon her when needed. With the creator as her only remaining obstacle, Remilia decides to return home, but she spots the cave where the Star Maiden's exclusive equipment is hidden, dismissing it as useless to her now. Meanwhile, in the capital, Pina is furious. Her plans are failing, the boy's affection levels are not rising, and she has run out of premium items. With the shop gone and the miasma levels too low for adventures, she is unable to recruit new characters and is growing desperate. As a last resort, Pina manipulates David with a tearful, fabricated story about a friend who was harmed by illegal drugs bought from a back alley shop. The kind-hearted David, completely fooled, promises to report it to the commander, praising Pina for her kindness as a royal agent watches from the shadows. In the throne room, a female knight approaches the queen, wishing to report on the Star Maiden, Pina Blanche. Unseen by all, one of Remilia's spy spiders crawls silently along the throne, ready to relay every word. Back in Remilia's flourishing village, life is bustling. The children are pressing grapes, people are brewing potions, and a strong wall is being built to protect the community. Remilia returns to the village, greeted by the happy cries of its residents. She smiles, pleased to see the bridge she requested is nearly complete. As she walks through the town, her torn stocking is noticed by the villagers, a small detail that highlights her dedication. She is met by Sophia, a gifted young woman from the student council who now serves as a member of the Queen's Royal Guard. Remilia, while wary, greets her old acquaintance. Sophia explains that she has come with a sincere request, seeking something from Remilia. To Remilia's astonishment, Sophia kneels before her, holding out her sword, and asks to become her knight. The other villagers look on in shock. A new chapter begins, titled A Beautiful Person, as Remilia processes the unexpected turn of events. Sophia explains her motivations. She was away on a mission when Remilia's engagement was annulled and only heard the outrageous news from David upon her return. The story of the perfect Miss Remilia being exiled for jealousy made no sense to her and seemed suspicious. Driven by her doubts, Sophia conducted her own thorough investigation. She examined the evidence and testimonies from the incident, assessed Pina's character, and visited Remilia's supposedly barren territory, which had flourished into a thriving village in just a few months. She recalls her first impression of Remilia as a beautiful and delicate noblewoman, and their friendly conversations in the student council. She also remembers their sword training sessions, where Remilia pushed herself relentlessly. Sophia had always admired Remilia's nature to step in and help, even if it meant losing her footing. She questioned why Remilia, a powerful magician, would go to such lengths to cultivate her swordplay. Remilia had explained that she wanted to be stronger to protect the person she admired, combining magic, swordplay, and intelligence to get even one step closer to them. Sophia believed in this worthy soul who wanted to excel more than anyone. After seeing the results of Remilia's hard work in the village and reading the royal family's surveillance reports that spoke of her resilience and lack of resentment, Sophia's belief in her was solidified. Despite Remilia's concerns about Sophia's status as a count's daughter and David's fiancée, Sophia nonchalantly reveals she has already broken off her engagement, left her family, and been discharged as a knight, having no patience for a corrupt country or a man like David. Sophia declares her fervent desire to offer her unwavering loyalty to Remilia, whom she sees as a true leader who genuinely cares for the people. Remilia gratefully accepts her as her esteemed knight. The villagers, who had been eavesdropping, cheer at the news. Remilia realizes that having a pawn who knows about the condemnation is a perfect move for her plans. Sophia moves into Remilia's mansion, and Remilia assures her she doesn't need to worry about Pina now that her access to premium items is cut off. Now that she has a trustworthy knight, Remilia prepares for her next move. Back in her study, Thorn welcomes her and provides a report. He explains that the newly arrived human orphans have settled in nicely thanks to the welcoming demon children. The first page details the orphans' information, while the second page covers the progress of new product development. Thorn also reports that an investigation into illegal drugs has begun at his old shop's location, a move orchestrated by the Star Maiden as an excuse to fence Remilia in. He expresses his relief at getting out in time. He warns her that Pina is growing impatient and will likely try to capture Remilia and force her to manufacture the items. This news only brings a cold, calculating smile to Remilia's face. With all the pieces for victory falling into place, Remilia knows that Pina will never be able to gain new allies. As long as she protects the world, there will be no adventures for the Star Maiden to embark on. Her victory is assured. Remilia then meets with Thorn again, promising to repay the money he spent on the village. He brushes it off as a business expense but agrees to a favor in return. Remilia, with a sly grin, says she wants an audience with a figure of high standing. His king, the Demon King. Thorn is shocked by her request, but Remilia calmly explains that she might have the solution to the frenzy, a plague that has afflicted the demon race for centuries. This piques his interest, and he agrees to arrange the meeting. A few days later, Remilia stands before the desolate landscape of the demon realm, ready to meet the king. She is determined to make Emmy's Remilia, the saint who saves the world, a selfless act Emmy herself would have done. She is guided to the castle, a dilapidated structure that speaks of the realm's poverty. After handing over her weapons, she is led to the audience chamber and told to wait. A voice commands the human girl to raise her head. She looks up to see the Demon King, a breathtakingly handsome man with horns and piercing eyes. He asks if it's true that she can mend the frenzy, and Remilia, recognizing him as Angel, the Demon King from the game, prepares to speak to in the demon realm. Remilia calmly tells the Demon King that while she cannot cure the frenzy, she has methods to address it. Meanwhile, back in the village, Thorn nervously awaits the outcome of their meeting, flashing back to a memory of the Demon King in a desperate, violent state. The flashback reveals the true horror of the frenzy. 20 years prior, the Demon King was forced to kill his own younger brother, who had succumbed to the affliction. The gruesome act of cutting into his brother to stop the madness has haunted him ever since. The frenzy, also known as the Time of Destruction, is a terrible fate that befalls the demon race. In another flashback, the king's younger brother, Clint, entrusts the last child from an orphanage to him before he himself is consumed by the frenzy, forcing the king to kill him to save the remaining children. A new chapter begins, showing a group of demon children being led through a lush forest into a new world. One young demon girl marvels at how easy it is to breathe in the human world, a stark contrast to their miasma-filled home. Thorn explains their new reality. They must wear traditional human clothing to conceal their demonic traits and live inconspicuously to avoid persecution. In the human world slums, Thorn instructs the demon children to gather a specific type of plant. He checks on a weary Mizari, the king's sister who used her ancient teleportation magic to bring them to this new world. Mizari laments that she can only transport those with weak mana, mostly children who resemble humans. Thorn recognizes that this strategy, while frustrating, saves the most lives, as the frenzy seems to manifest in those with weaker mana abilities. They continue to send supplies back to the demon realm in exchange for magical goods. They recall a kind-hearted couple who succumbed to the frenzy, a painful memory for Mizari, who feels powerless as royalty to protect her people. She reveals the only known way to regain sanity, devouring those with mana until death. A flashback shows the king being forced to kill one of his own people, who, in his last moment of clarity, thanked him. Mizari tearfully explains that few possess the strength to eliminate their frenzied kin. Thorn reflects on the immense burden the Demon King carries, forced to kill his own people while shedding tears of grief. He understands the king's duty and profound respect for each citizen, a stark contrast to those who would rationalize such acts for the greater good. Thorn recalls his own past, how he once dealt in illegal drugs but was inspired by Remilia to become a true merchant, starting with a simple smile. He implored the king to trust Remilia, believing she would be their savior. Thorn remembers the absolute power in Remilia's smile, a smile that could make anyone believe in her without question. Her comforting presence and the wellspring of her strength seem to radiate from a deep assurance, a stark contrast to the king's lonely burden. With a new understanding, Thorn realizes that Remilia, with her firm support and unwavering smile, will be the one to save all demon folk. Back in the audience chamber, Remilia explains her knowledge of the frenzy, revealing that the first prince of the human kingdom is of demon descent, a fact Pina was aware of. She details the grim cycle of the compassionate demons choosing suicide over a life of slaughter to regain their sanity. She then reveals the tragic story from the game. The Demon King was prepared to sacrifice himself to save his younger brother, but the time limit for a cure ran out on his 140th birthday. This led to the heart-wrenching scene where the king was forced to kill his own brother. In the real world, Emmy had cried in sorrow for the antagonists of the story, wishing for a happy ending for them. Remilia, feeling her friend's pain, vowed to make it a reality. Remilia corrects the Demon King's understanding of the situation. The miasma, the root of the frenzy, is not just in the demon realm, it will eventually engulf the human world as well. The Demon King is enraged by her audacity, but Remilia calmly explains the miasma's true source. The miasma is not a natural phenomenon but oozes from the sleeping creator's shrine, nestled in the heart of the demon realm. If left unchecked, it will destroy the entire world. The Demon King is shocked that a mere human could know of this. Remilia reveals that the only way to stop the miasma is to restore the purification goddess, Renge, to her rightful form. She explains that she holds the memories of the maiden who is destined to save the world. She recounts Emmy's journey from the game, how she traveled the world alone, gathering the keys to the heavens and unraveling the mysteries of the goddess's disappearance. She admits that Pina's interference has altered the course of events, but her knowledge remains true. Remilia expertly twists the facts, framing Pina as the person with a heart of malice who had her exiled. She then reveals the terrifying truth: the only way to purify the creator is to destroy the miasma tainting his body through his pure core, a destiny of unimaginable pain. Despite the cruel fate that awaits, Remilia stands unwavering in her conviction to save the world for Emmy's sake. Her resolve shines brightly, and she knows that Emmy would believe in her. She then makes her request. She asks the Demon King to lend her the key to the creator's shrine. When he initially refuses, citing it as a national treasure, she falls to her knees and entreats him. Moved by her conviction, the Demon King makes a surprising decision. He stands before her and declares that he will join her. His younger brother, Klimt, appears from the shadows, utterly shocked by his brother's choice. Klimt bursts in, questioning his brother's decision to join Remilia. The Demon King, Angel, reassures him that he still doesn't fully trust her and will be keeping a close eye on her. Meanwhile, Remilia sees this as a convenient way to use the Demon King's power, knowing that destroying the creator's body while preserving its core is a far more difficult task than defeating the Lord of the Heavens. As they stand together, Remilia thanks Angel for his help. He looks at her with suspicion, but her genuine gratitude is undeniable. She knows her words are the truth, and he can find no lies in them. A new chapter begins, titled The Villainess Smiles, with Remilia looking confidently at the reader. In the Demon Castle, a guide shows Remilia to her room for the night, inviting her to dinner later. As the door closes, Remilia muses that the sparse room is better than camping in the wild, her curiosity piqued about the meal she'll be served. Later, she finds Klimt peeling potatoes. He apologizes for the delay, explaining that the castle is short-staffed as all the servants were sent away to avoid contact with a human. Remilia is surprised by his openness about their lack of security. Klimt remarks that since she is just one human girl, they don't need much help. Remilia, taking this as a slight, suddenly summons crates of fresh vegetables, dried meats, fish, and preserved foods, all harvests from her land, leaving Klimt utterly stunned. She offers the food as a token of friendship, even offering to taste it first to prove it isn't poisoned. Klimt, blushing, gratefully accepts and promises to start preparing the meal immediately, realizing that bringing food was the right choice. At dinner, Angel is surprised by the lavish meal, questioning if it is his last. He takes a bite and finds it delicious. Klimt explains that the food is from Remilia's land, farmed by the demon children she rescued. The realization that he is eating food grown by his own people brings a thoughtful expression to Angel's face. Back in her room, Remilia prepares for the final battle. She knows the creator's dungeon is unique. There are no monsters or items, only the creator himself. In the game, every fifth turn, an ally would succumb to the frenzy unless purification magic was used. Since demons cannot use this magic, she will be the one casting it on the Demon King. Remilia reflects on the tragic irony that if humans with purification magic had cooperated with the demons, none would have succumbed to the frenzy. However, the Lord of the Heavens had trapped the goddess of purification, leaving the demons unaware of this power. She decides to reveal this solution only after the creator is purified, wanting them to believe they did everything in their power. She also wants to save Angel's heart, forced into solitude and ruthlessness to protect his people. This is what Emmy would have done, and Remilia is determined to see it through. The next day, she and Angel, now clad in impressive armor, stand ready to face their final challenge. Remilia explains her plan. She will use her purification magic to alleviate the divine punishment from the gods, allowing him to fight without succumbing to the miasma. He is surprised by the sensation of the purification magic, feeling his body grow strangely lighter. Remilia tells him to focus on attacking while she acts as his shield, and after the miasma corrupts the creator's body, she will summon Renge to deliver the final blow. As they walk down the grand staircase, she catches him letting out a small, almost imperceptible laugh. Angel admits he never imagined he would fight alongside a human to save not just the demon realm, but the entire world. Remilia reminds him that demons and humans were once the same. She explains that the demon folk are descendants of those who survived in miasma-thrived lands, developing a resistance that became a defining trait. She points out that the ability of humans and demons to have children together, like the first prince, is further proof of their shared ancestry. She concludes that humans and demons are only slightly different based on their birthplace, and she firmly believes they can join hands to create a peaceful world together. As they reach the final door, she asks if he is ready. He tells her to call him Angel. As the doors swing open, he explains that it's his name. Remilia, sensing a deeper meaning, realizes he is taking a liking to her face, a face that tirelessly strives to save the world without expecting anything in return, just like Emmy. She knows she can use this to her advantage. With a determined smile, she resolves to appear as the diligent Remilia, so preoccupied with saving the world that she doesn't notice the affection from others. It's not a lie, because it's exactly what Emmy would do. Inside the creator's shrine, a cavern of shimmering ice, Remilia and Angel are surrounded by dark, dripping miasma. A new chapter begins, titled The End and the Beginning, as they realize the creator is not there, a deviation from the game's script. Angel, whose magic aptitude is shadow, finds the dark, limestone cave a convenient battleground. They cautiously advance, the entire cave thick with miasma, making it difficult to sense the creator. Angel explains that based on the maiden's memories, they should have met the creator immediately upon entering. Remilia realizes they must confront the creator, who has already noticed their intrusion. From the cavern's ceiling, a grotesque, one-eyed creature descends, suspended by a single thread, surrounded by hanging, insect-like appendages. The creature attacks, and Angel shouts Remilia's name as she is thrown through the air. Using a wire-like weapon, she gracefully maneuvers through the air, dodging the creature's attacks with incredible speed and reflexes. Angel is impressed by her skill, his suspicions about her claims of destroying gods quickly fading. The creator then attacks with a glowing, multi-eyed lotus pod, which Remilia deflects. She notes that the attack, while not powerful enough for defensive magic, is still dangerous. As the pod hits the wall, it releases small, rolling seeds. Angel uses his shadow magic to avoid the seeds, but Remilia notices one of the seeds has sprouted, wrapping around his leg in a thorny vine. As she calls out his carelessness, the vine explodes. With a confident smile, Remilia reminds him to stick to the plan. He should focus on attacking the main body while she creates an opening. As she speaks, her expression mirrors the gentle smile Emmy would wear. Angel, momentarily stunned by her smile, recalls a distant memory of fighting alongside his comrades. He is struck by her courage as she expertly parries an attack, her sword glowing with power. With a powerful slash, she strikes one of the creator's massive eyes, causing it to scream in pain. Remilia stands victorious, having proven her strength. The creator, enraged, unleashes a barrage of explosions. As the dust settles, Remilia calls out to Angel, signaling that now is the time to strike. With his axe glowing with dark energy, he prepares to attack. The wounded creator writhes in agony, begging for death. Remilia speaks to it, acknowledging its love for all creation. Angel then delivers a powerful, precise slash, ending its suffering. With a sigh of relief, Angel watches as the creator's body dissolves. He vows that he will not let it destroy the world it nurtured like its own child. Remilia, wiping a smudge of dirt from her cheek, admits that his true power surpassed her imagination and that her elaborate evasive maneuvers were partly to conceal her own strength. She confesses she was also prepared for him to attack her, but the fight became surprisingly easier with an ally. She then begins the final step of their plan. The creator's true form, the ultimate guardian of the nucleus, appears as a large, fish-like creature. She asks Angel to lay it on its back so she can open its abdomen and purify the physical body from within. With a look of grim determination, she prepares to perform the grotesque task of dissecting a god. She concentrates, summoning a sphere of pure, condensed purification energy. With her hands clasped in prayer, she places the sphere into the creature's opened belly, and its body begins to dissolve into particles of light. As the creator's body is purified, Angel thinks to himself that she looks like the embodiment of a saintess. He reflects on the wisdom and blessings of the creator that have allowed the demon folk to survive. As the nucleus, a sphere of pure darkness, is revealed, he prays that the creator may find new life and be free from past sufferings. With the purification complete, Remilia thanks Angel for his help. She then prepares to purify the space and summon Renge. He looks at her, a hint of a smile on his face, and simply says, "It's Angel." Remilia thanks him again, this time using his name. He tells her she doesn't need to thank him, as it's only natural to fight for one's country. With a genuine, heartfelt smile, he says, "Remilia, please allow me to say, thank you." Touched by his sincere gratitude, Remilia smiles back, her eyes reflecting the light from the purified nucleus she holds in her hands. As she starts the summoning, she reminds herself that she is Emmy's Remilia, and doing this is the only right thing to do. Demon Castle, Remilia is introduced to Mizari, the Demon King's sister. Remilia, maintaining her polite demeanor, suggests they drop the formal titles. Mizari, overwhelmed with gratitude, kneels and thanks Remilia for saving their homeland. Remilia gently helps her up, explaining it was only natural for her to do so. Suddenly, Mizari's nose begins to bleed, a side effect of overusing her teleportation magic. Angel and Klimt rush to her side, concerned. With overflowing joy and gratitude, Angel asks if he can hug her. Remilia agrees, and he embraces her, a gesture that reminds her of Emmy's kindness. With the heartfelt introductions complete, Remilia gets down to business, summoning Thorn via a magical projection. They begin to discuss the construction of a teleportation gate, a crucial trading hub between the demon realm and her land. A new chapter begins, titled The Mercy of a Saint, with Remilia looking elegant and poised, ready to lay out her grand plans. At the meeting, Remilia explains that a teleportation gate, unlike teleportation magic, can transport people and items without limitations, though it requires immense mana. The gate will be a fusion of demon teleportation magic and ancient human summoning magic. She reveals that she has already gathered all the necessary materials from around the world, relying on the memories of the maiden destined to save it. She presents the rare items and detailed instructions, leaving the demon siblings completely astonished by her thorough preparation. As they study the complex instructions, Angel and Klimt are baffled, but Mizari understands the intricate magical theory. Remilia explains that she will need Mizari's power to build the gate on the demon realm's side, while she builds a counterpart in her territory, providing much-needed employment for her people. Angel, wanting to contribute, is tasked with managing the trade goods. Klimt will investigate the demon realm's resources, while Remilia will bring an assistant to study the human world's goods. Thorn will be in charge of explaining what her territory can offer in trade. Thorn astounds the demon siblings by revealing that Remilia's territory can provide 5,000 tons of food, enough to support the entire demon population for a year. Remilia explains that this is thanks to the demon settlers, who have revolutionized their cleaning-derived compost industry with their mana, resulting in a 30% higher harvest. Mizari is moved to tears, amazed that the children who barely survived in hiding are now helping their homeland. Thorn reflects on their past struggles and how this new hope, all thanks to Remilia, is a dream come true. The group discusses the final details of the plan. They will build the teleportation gate near the bridge, spacious enough for trade carriages. Remilia's promise to provide the demons with a dignified life and business is now becoming a reality. She outlines her long-term vision, to establish international trade agreements between the demon realm and other nations. They will start with a small business from her village, gradually gaining trust by providing innovative, high-quality goods. They will then slowly reveal that the products are made by demons, changing the public's perception and proving they are different from the demonic figures in legends. By leveraging Thorn's former customers who resent the Star Maiden, they will manage business rivals, and eventually, the Human King himself will likely reach out to them. The demon siblings are amazed by her foresight, realizing that compared to defeating gods, this is a simple matter for her. Remilia, with a confident smile, assures them that it is no big deal, and her confidence is contagious. She knows the humans have become too accustomed to mediocrity and will be captivated by the irreplaceable goods from the demon realm. Her land will monopolize this trade, and the attractive demons will not only gain trust but also a following of believers. Angel, noticing her enthusiasm, asks about her dream. She explains that she wants to create a world where a kind person like Emmy can live peacefully. In that moment, he finally understands that her goal of saving the world is for the sake of one person. Meanwhile, in the capital, two noble ladies are discussing shoes. One offers to show the other a good store, but as they turn the corner, they are met with a chaotic scene. A huge crowd is clamoring for free food, with people shouting and pushing. A young man advises them to avoid the area, explaining that the distribution is a new poverty alleviation policy approved by the crown. At the center of the commotion, Pina, dressed as a humble server, ladles out soup with a sweet smile, telling the crowd there is still plenty. It is, they say, the Star Maiden's mercy. In the royal castle, the queen questions Prince Willard about the rising costs of clothing for the Star Maiden. Willard explains that they are incorporating new policies and cultural elements based on Pina's knowledge, which he believes will contribute to the country's long-term prosperity. The queen, though skeptical, agrees to wait and see. The queen then asks about Pina's role as a saintess. Willard reveals Pina's desire to embark on dungeon conquests around the world with him and other male retainers, a plan he cannot join due to his state affairs. He also points out the diplomatic and practical challenges of such a journey, especially with only male companions. The queen questions the necessity of this plan, noting the country has many outstanding female officers. Willard explains that, according to Pina, overcoming an impending disaster depends on these chosen members, though there are no current omens of such a catastrophe. When the queen asks about the saintess's current whereabouts and deeds, Willard hesitates to answer. A new chapter begins, showing Pina with a mischievous look, a finger to her lips as if sharing a secret. In the capital, a long line has formed for Pina's soup kitchen. The crowd is buzzing with excitement, eager to taste the Star Maiden's specially made risotto. Pina, serving the food with a sweet smile, thinks to herself how easy it is to become popular by feeding the commoners. She plans to use this newfound reputation to recruit the town's conquest characters from the game. As she takes a short break, she is approached by the castle's treasurer, Stefan. He praises her for her moving display of compassion, but she internally scoffs at his naivety, knowing she didn't actually cook any of the food. She puts on a radiant smile, claiming she made the food in prayer for everyone's happiness. Stefan, completely charmed, presents her with a box, which he claims is a token of his concern. Pina, feigning surprise, opens it to find a large sum of gems and money. He then gives her a special feather, telling her to pray to it every day to attract luck. Pina, barely containing her glee, promises to do so, inwardly celebrating the acquisition of her new wallet. Later, in his office, Willard discusses a new farming technique with Claude, crop rotation. He explains that planting different crops each year prevents the soil from losing specific nutrients, and introduces the idea of planting forage crops for livestock on the fallow land. This new method, which Willard claims to have learned from Pina, will not only increase crop yields but also boost livestock production. He believes that if this policy succeeds, it will turn the recent scrutiny of Pina and the royal family into praise, as improving food self-sufficiency is fundamental to the country's well-being. In another part of the castle, two ladies-in-waiting discuss Pina's extravagant spending, which is on the verge of bankrupting the treasury. They rationalize it as a manifestation of her insecurities from being raised as a commoner, a flaw they, as nobles, should overlook with magnanimity. Claude enters the conversation, mentioning that some people are beginning to question the wisdom of exiling his older sister, Remilia. Willard dismisses this, claiming he gave her a chance to apologize, which she refused. He reaffirms his belief that a person who succumbs to jealousy is unworthy of becoming the mother of their nation, and he is certain he was not mistaken in his judgment. Claude agrees, adding that acting on emotions is unbecoming of her position. He thanks Willard for breaking up with his sister, a sentiment he claims to feel from the bottom of his heart. As he speaks these words, Remilia, watching through one of her spy spiders, is overcome with a chilling rage. In her study, Remilia scoffs at their meaningless efforts of a soup kitchen and crop rotation. She wonders how Sophia is doing in the demon realm and then turns her attention to her next target, placing a small spider on a crystal ball. She watches as a black crow flies over a mountain range, where two figures are climbing. It is Sophia and Klimt, now working together in the demon realm. Remilia, with a satisfied smile, notes that Sophia is enjoying herself. Remilia reviews her plans, her knowledge of the demon realm's valuable resources, rare beast materials, unique plants, and precious ores, giving her a significant advantage. As a discerning noblewoman, she can identify valuable assets in both worlds. She uses a scrying bowl to check on her various operations, confident that she will soon gather enough evidence to clear her name. She feels herself getting closer to her ultimate goal, wrapping her hands around the neck of the woman who destroyed everything that I in his study. Angel is diligently working when Remilia arrives. She politely asks if it is a good time to discuss an important matter. He welcomes her in, his expression brightening at her presence. Remilia asks Angel if there is a magic that allows one to peer into another's memories, explaining that it would be crucial for clearing her false accusations, especially when trading with humans. She recalls his use of contract magic and wonders if he can interfere with memories. Angel confirms that such magic exists but warns it is not recommended, as it could cripple the target unless they have a strong affinity for it. He adds that there would be no evidence left behind, a method Emmy would never use. He then reassures her that a better magic exists. This magic is called past mirroring water. A new chapter begins, titled A Famous Actress, with Remilia holding a bowl, ready to perform the ritual. Angel explains the process. First, a bowl filled with water is prepared, then the exact coordinates of the memory's location are needed. Using crushed mana shards and a reference from the subject, they can trace back to that time. Remilia, in her study, uses her own hair and a strand of penas, along with information from her spy spiders, to begin the ritual, which she recognizes as the album skill from the game. The magic creates a vision of the past in the water, its clarity dependent on the quality of the mana stone and the strength of fate. The magic doesn't interfere with people's memories but rather goes back to the memories of a specific location. After the ritual, Angel asks Remilia what she plans to do with the evidence. Remilia explains her precarious situation. Cast aside by her parents and with no support in high society, she worries the king might not believe her or would destroy the evidence to protect the prince and the Star Maiden. Angel, moved by her vulnerability, vows to enter an alliance with her and become the person who backs her, a man who can stand by her side without bringing shame. His heartfelt declaration reminds Remilia of a painful memory of her own desperate desire to be a woman worthy of standing by Willard's side. The memory brings a tear to her eye, but she quickly composes herself, a gentle smile gracing her lips as she thanks Angel, her heart filled with a newfound happiness. The past and present merge as Remilia's view of the vision in the bowl reveals Pina's masterful manipulation. Pina expertly fabricated the crime, using witnesses who only saw parts of the scene and twisting their testimonies to her advantage. Pina used her lady-in-waiting to deliver a letter, ensuring there were witnesses to her being called to the courtyard. A young man, whose family would benefit from siding with the Star Maiden, falsely testified that he saw Remilia in the vicinity. Another witness, Lord Rienfons, was smooth-talked into believing he saw the aftermath of an assault. Pina had approached him with a handkerchief bearing the Graupner crest, feigning distress and claiming Lady Remilia had slapped her for being a commoner. Her swollen cheek, a result of her own doing, and her crocodile tears convinced him of her story. He was manipulated into preserving the handkerchief as evidence and testifying against Remilia, believing he was making the truth easier to understand. Remilia now understands the full extent of Pina's treachery. The false testimony was all created in the academy, and Pina had fabricated 4 key pieces of evidence to frame her. She marvels at Pina's impressive, albeit twisted, acting ability. She realizes that from a third person's point of view, the witnesses and evidence would seem irrefutable. The maids, guards, and criminals who were hired to betray her, leaking her private schedule and stealing her belongings, all played a part in this elaborate scheme. A cold, satisfied smirk spreads across her face as she realizes this new evidence will bring judgment upon all who ruined the happiness Emmy had chosen for her. As the vision fades, a look of chilling determination crosses Remilia's face. She has found a better card than she expected, and it was worth dirtying her eyes to obtain it. Her plan for revenge is now perfectly set in Remilia's thriving village. The fields are golden with a bountiful harvest. The villagers, filled with gratitude, prepare food and goods, their lives transformed by her leadership. Remilia instructs a group of young magic users, teaching them to synchronize their consciousness with their staffs and release their magic in a coordinated effort. With a smile, she watches as they successfully use their magic to levitate and gather the sheaves of wheat, their joyful cheers filling the air. 2 months have passed since she began gathering evidence. The village has flourished, and with a solid infrastructure in place, it's time to expand their commerce. Sophia reports that the demon-made craft items are in high demand, and Remilia decides to create scarcity to increase their value, while also planning a luxury line for the nobility. Suddenly, a panicked Thorn rushes in, interrupting their meeting. He delivers grim news: Sophia has collapsed in the demon realm. A new chapter begins, titled Leeline's Fruit, as Remilia processes the shocking news. In a room in the demon castle, Sophia is recovering, eating a strange fruit. Remilia enters, and Sophia is surprised to see her, as it is the harvest day at the estate. Remilia explains that she came immediately after hearing the news, worried that the charm controlling the miasma was wearing off. Klimt confirms that the miasma is still lingering in some places. Sophia, recovering well, apologizes for causing a fuss, explaining she had given her own protective charm to someone suffering from miasma deep in the mountains. Klimt clarifies that Sophia collapsed after a battle with a monster, from a gush of miasma-tainted blood. Remilia is unfamiliar with the Leeline's fruit Sophia is eating, and Klimt explains it's a rare fruit from the demon world that restores the body to its original state. Unlike potions or healing magic, the fruit strengthens a person's natural self-healing abilities by consuming their magic. Sophia, with her excellent physical strength, recovered quickly. She feels inadequate for being a hindrance, but Remilia reassures her. Remilia explains that this fruit, which has sustained the demon race in their polluted land, is exactly what she was looking for to become a beacon of reconstruction. She thanks Sophia, her mind racing with new possibilities. A demon doctor arrives to examine Sophia, intrigued by the opportunity to conduct a clinical trial on a human. He muses that one never knows where blessings will come from. Sophia is exhilarated by the events, believing that demons and humans can live in harmony. She thanks Remilia for choosing her to be at the forefront of this new world. Klimt remarks on Sophia's energetic recovery, and she proudly states that her training as a knight has made her strong. Remilia is pleased to see them getting along so well. Remilia holds up a Leeline's fruit, explaining that it is the key to establishing a trade alliance. She tasks Sophia and Klimt with creating trial products from its components to make it more effective for humans. Just as she is about to assign them their partner, Angel arrives. He addresses a skilled alchemist, the one who created the original love potion and charm perfume. The alchemist, a man with long white hair and horns, is surprised to see the Demon King. Angel explains that he is one of the artisans who sold goods to Thorn's shop. He was worried about cooperating, as the alchemist seems to dislike people, but his skills are needed.